I heard Snoop told the story a few times, but he had it wrong a little bit.
I don't recall Snoop being there. And the situation didn't go down nothing the way Snoop said it.
Numerous rappers cherish memories of Tupac and readily share them whenever they can. Snoop Dogg is among them, having been signed to the same label alongside the late rapper. One of Snoop's recent stories about Tupac has caused tension with Nas, and it looks like Snoop has got caught in his own lies. In 1996, during an awards show, an incident occurred between Nas and Snoop that almost escalated into a gun battle. This incident arose from Nas confronting Snoop about a story he shared concerning Tupac. Nas now says that the rapper and the newly crowned king of his old label has been twisting the facts about this evening, and it definitely looks suspicious.
That you and Pock once crossed paths in Central Park.
I heard Snoop told the story a few times, but he had it wrong.
Taking us back to a tough era where East Coast, West Coast beef was at its peak, Snoop gave a powerful breakdown of the whole ordeal from an interesting point of view. He spoke on what it felt like being in the uneasy place of showing support for his West Coast fam while still keeping cool with the East Coast homies that were friends before things turned for the worse. As Snoop then said, "We all used to hang out. I love Biggie and I love Pock, and both of them love me." However, we all know about the tension between two crews, and somehow Nas and Pock found themselves in the middle of it. In a recent interview, Nas addressed the long-standing rumors and controversy surrounding his alleged beef with Tupac. He acknowledged Snoop Dogg's version of events, but noted there were significant discrepancies presenting a different perspective on the encounter.
And Pac had seen Nas in the park, and him and Nas had words, but Nas didn't want none.
To grasp the events of that night during the VMAs, let's dig deeper into that night. Back then, Nas was riding high on the success of his album, It Was Written. This album solidified the rapper's position as a top-tier rapper, showcasing his lyrical talent. Meanwhile, on the West Coast, Tupac was making headlines with his immense talent and larger-than-life persona. Fresh from the success of California Love, he was dominating charts, not just in rap, but across the music industry. However, amid Pac's success, controversies brewed. The East Coast-West Coast feud fueled by the media was at its peak, and Tupac found himself in the eye of the storm. His notorious diss track, Hit 'Em Up, dropped on June 4th, 1996, took shots at several East Coast artists, including Nas and his associates. This intensified the rift between the coasts, forcing many artists to take sides, and Tupac was the one to want to put an end to all this.
I got this new project coming out along with some other brothers called One Nation, and it's like an East Coast, West Coast collaboration.
Not many people know it, but Pac was aiming to make a collab with Nas, who was enjoying a successful year with his album It Was Written. And it seems like Snoop Dogg aimed to tell his own version of the story, which portrayed Nas in quite a nasty light, showing his beef with Pac. As Snoop mentioned, Tupac had seen Nas in the park, and him and Nas had words, but Nas didn't want none. But Nas had 100 people with guns. It almost looks like Snoop wanted to have Nas dragged into this mess. It didn't help that Nas was running with Mobb Deep, who had their separate beef with Pac, the Pac Vs. Nas beef came to a boil at the 1996 MTV Video Music Awards. However, as both sides stated, they only wanted peace and no drama.
We are businessmen. We are not animals. It's not like we're going to see them and rush them.
After the awards ceremony, Tupac with his label Entourage and New Jersey-based Outlaws crew faced off with Nas and his Queensbridge goons at Bryant Park, where the alleged confrontation happened. There have been numerous versions of this story circling for a while, and Nas has never given his version until now, calling out everyone else who is spreading lies about his tension with the late rap legend. Now Snoop Dogg is under fire for his baseless claims, and it looks like Nas is about to expose his ugly nature.
Where I was coming from really wasn't an all-love place because there was a rumor of Machiavelli. So I was really want to check the temperature with him.
Now, it may seem that Snoop has been trying to twist the history and maybe create his own narrative, portraying other rappers in a bad light. After Nas's comments, people start to see his real side. As one person commented, Snoop and Dre were and still are studio gangstas. Once Tupac realized, his whole attitude towards the individual changed. And another user added, Snoop has been Tupac's biggest hater for 30 years. In a recent interview with Hot 97, Nas clarified the story, adding that him and Pac had seen each other prior backstage during the media awards, and has actually ended the evening on a good note, painting a completely different picture of what's been going on.
I was like, well, I heard you was coming at me. I said, no, that wasn't about you, but I heard you was coming at me, back and forth. And it was like, yo, Nas, we brothers, man.
Well, it's clear that Snoop was trying to get back into the rap game. Freshly out of horrible accusations of taking the life of a man, Snoop Dogg was a bit out of the picture of crispy success that both Pac and Nas shared. Could it has been just jealousy speaking? Well, if you hear Nas' story about the incident, in fact, him and Tupac had a chat, we had a great convo, man. He explained he thought I was dissing him on the song The Message. He thought I was dissing him, and I heard he was dissing me at clubs. But first then I was even thinking about when I wrote that record, now it may not be the same version that Snoop was sharing, and it raises a lot of suspicions about the rapper's credibility and the stories he's been telling about hip-hop.
I was right there.
Oh my God.
What happened was, Nas ain't got a lot of people with him, but he got a lot of people with him.
Two rappers even came to an agreement that night, and as Nay shared, they were thinking about a collab that could have changed the sad narrative and turn off the bitter beef between two coasts. After reconciling with Nays in New York on that night and talking about a potential collaboration in the future, Pac flew to Vegas to attend the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson fight, and you know the rest of the story. As Nas stated, I was scheduled to meet him in Vegas. Stout and Jimmy Iovine called me at 4 a.m. and told me he might not survive the shooting. Tupac's life came to a tragic end on September 13th, 1996, just days after that fateful MTV Awards. His sudden demise sent shockwaves through the music industry, leaving an irreplaceable void. It was a heart-wrenching moment and marked the East Coast-West Coast feud's first casualty.
PM Vegas time, Tupac Shakur passed away, y'all. Give me a moment of silence.
Nas, profoundly affected by Tupac's tragic passing, mourned the loss of not just an artist, but also a friend. Despite the grief, Nas used his music and platform to advocate for unity and peace within the rap community. The resolution between Nas and Tupac just a few days before Pac's passing away served as a poignant reminder that even amidst intense rivalries, reconciliation and growth were possible. Their conversation at the MTV Awards became an emblematic moment in hip-hop history, showcasing the potential power of unity. And at the same time, it throws huge shade on Snoop Dogg, who seemingly wanted to stir some drama with his fake stories.
I step away from him. Him and Nas right here, boom. Nas like, what's up, Pac?
And it's not just Nas. Other rappers also find inconsistencies in Snoop's story about that incident. Another version of this story comes from Outlaw's member, Napoleon, who corrected Snoop's little detail about Tupac's crew being outnumbered. He also confessed having caught Snoop Dogg in a big lie when sharing his version of how Nas allegedly confronted Tupac. As she shared, I thank God that Nas and Pac was able to come together and talk like man instead of being ignorant, because it would have probably been a bloodbath. Now, Snoop Dogg has been airing a lot of dirty linen in the public, and after Nas' fact check, it seems like all his talk loses credibility in the eyes of fans and even his fellow rappers.
You know, I know Snoop said Pac punked Nas and then went to Snoop and said, you see how I got these New York dudes? None of that happened, bro.
It may also look like Snoop Dogg had his own agenda, and he didn't want two great rappers to ever come together and make amends. Well, after his own misfortunes with Law, Snoop Dogg was at the bottom of the rap game, and apparently he wanted to sneak his way back to the top. It's not the first time when Snoop Dogg is called a liar. However, people close to the industry's biggest secrets actually label Snoop a snake and expose him in lying and creating a convenient version of the stories that serve him right.
That's a Snoop Dogg story. That's propaganda for the media, bruh. That's something that sounds good for the media.
Reflecting on this, one might ponder how the rap scene could have evolved had West Coast and East Coast come together and reconciled, much like Nas and Tupac eventually did. But there's one person that doesn't fit the narrative of happy ending, and that's Snoop Dogg. As one person commented, Snoop simply cannot and does not want to accept that Tupac has become such an undisputed king. And another user added, Snoop should have been called Snoop Snake, not Dog Cause. A dog is a symbol of loyalty. We can only hope that the mystery of Tupac's demise one day will stop haunting us, and the truth will be out together with justice. But folks, what do you think about all this? Could Nas be hiding some shady details of Snoop's life and lies? And could Snoop Dogg be the biggest snake in the industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check my other videos.